Marketing experts say to publish more content. But is that the real solution? You're told to post on LinkedIn daily, write blogs, make videos, build an audience everywhere. But more content isn't the answer. The advice addresses the symptom, not the root problem. More content alone doesn't build authority. Many businesses that produce frequently see little authority. Their content fails to earn the trust or influence. Real authority comes from a few substantial pieces displaying genuine expertise, and this can't be faked or templated. High volume output can substitute for real depth. In the next 10 minutes, you'll learn exactly what real authority content looks like, why it outperforms high volume content, and the system that you could use to build it efficiently so you could start transforming your approach today. I'm Rod Agatep. I help businesses build marketing ecosystems where authoritative content turns attention into trust and trust into clients. The volume-based content strategy comes from a specific assumption that being seen more often equals being trusted more deeply. That assumption is wrong. The data is clear. The businesses that are posting 50 pieces a month with service level content generates less qualified pipeline than those publishing 4 strong pieces. And here's why. Content that's easy to produce is easy to ignore. Posts that summarize obvious advice, articles that compile what's already on the first page of Google, videos that say nothing the prospect couldn't have figured out themselves. Your audience scrolls past content that tells them nothing that's new or helpful. Even if seen, it isn't remembered. Businesses are putting in high effort at high cost and getting low impact. Real authority comes from content that is rare. It's difficult to produce because it requires genuine expertise and years of work. Most businesses lack the experience needed. Now, here's the part that should reframe how you think about your content strategy entirely. Businesses dominating their niche publish less than competitors, but every piece is better. They win by depth, not by volume. One excellent piece outperforms 50 mediocre ones. Authority content isn't about being smart, it's about being noticed in the noisy world. The businesses that produce it become the default reference in their niche, the ones that don't end up competing on price. And in the next 10 minutes, you'll discover what authoritative content actually requires, the 5 components that make it effective, and the simple steps you could take to avoid common failure patterns and start producing impactful content right away. Picture how this changes the perception of your business in the market. A prospect Googles a question that's adjacent to what they want to buy. They land on a piece of your content, not a generic blog post, but a deep framework that genuinely changes how they think about a problem. They read it, they learn something new, then they share it. Then they bookmark your site. Next time, they'll visit your site directly. Over the following weeks, they encounter you in their feed. Your name shows up in industry conversations. They start to associate you with the topic. Not the many options, but as the source they default to when they need to think about your kind of work. By the time they're ready to buy, their buying decisions have already been made. They're not evaluating vendors, they're contacting the person they already decided is the expert. And here's the part that compounds over the years. Authority content can generate leads years after it's published. Volume content fades in days. Authority content that produces real results have 5 components. Each one matters. Together, they create the asset class that competitors with more volume can't replicate. 1. Substantial depth. Each piece must teach the audience something not found elsewhere, provide true frameworks or insights from the work itself. The depth test is simple. Would an expert in your field read this and learn something? If the answer is no, the piece isn't authoritative content. It's a commodity with your logo. Authority requires that even sophisticated readers find value in the piece. 2. Content that's memorable. Frameworks are what make content memorable. 10 tips for better marketing is forgettable. A 5-phase diagnostic for pipeline problems endures because it gives readers a reusable tool. When you create a framework, you give people something that they could use, reference, and remember you for. Frameworks get cited and shared. Here's a strategic move that most businesses miss. The framework does not have to be complicated. The best ones are simple enough to remember and specific enough to apply. The complexity lies in what they reveal, not how they're structured. 3. Real examples and data. Authority content uses real examples, real numbers, and not hypotheticals. This is where most content strategy fails. The team writing the content doesn't have access to the underlying engagement. So the examples become hypothetical, the data becomes generic, the content becomes hollow. Real authority is built by those who have done the work, or by the content team working closely with the practitioners. It's hard to produce, but that's why it works. 4. Strategic distribution. Even the best content fails if no one sees it. Distribution is where most authority content strategies fail. The team writes one strong piece, publishes it, and then moves on. Real authority content gets multi-channel distribution. One strong piece becomes multiple LinkedIn posts that highlight specific frameworks. It gets emailed to your list, it gets fed to your retargeting audiences, it gets cited in sales conversation, it becomes a foundation for short video clips. One strong piece can drive weeks of distribution. 5. Compounding cadence. Authority content builds over time. The piece that you publish in month 1 makes the piece that you publish in month 3 more credible. By month 12, you have a body of work that establishes a position. By month 24, that position is hard for any entrant to displace. The right cadence depends on your business, but it typically runs well below what content marketing experts recommend. 1 or 2 deep pieces of content per month distributed extensively will outperform daily volume-based content within 12 months. How fast does authority content produce results? Slower than ads, but faster than SEO, with the results that compound rather than decay. The first strong piece takes 3 or 4 weeks to produce properly, including research, drafting, and distribution. The second piece takes slightly less time as the system finds its rhythm. By month 3, you have a small body of work that starts ranking, getting shared, and feeding your other channels. By month 6, your content is producing measurable inbound prospects arriving with high context and the assumption that you're the right person to work with. By month 12, authority content often becomes one of your top sources of qualified pipeline. And the most valuable shift happens around month 9. Prospects start arriving at sales conversations already pre-sold. They've consumed your work, they've internalized your framework. The sales conversation isn't a pitch, it's a discussion with someone they've already seen as the expert. 3 failure patterns turn authority content into wasted investment. First, outsourced without expertise. The business hires a content agency or a freelance writer with no actual expertise in the topic. The agency produces surface level content that looks right, but lacks substance. Publishing it hurts your brand because experienced readers can tell. The fix? The substance has to come from someone who's done the work. That can be you doing the writing, you doing the talking, and someone else writing it up, or the content team working closely enough with you to extract real substance. But the depth has to be real. Second, published and forgotten. The content piece is published, sits on a website, and is never actively distributed. The business produced authoritative content, but treated it like a blog. Most of the audience never sees it. The fix? Every piece needs a multi-week distribution plan. LinkedIn posts pulling specific frameworks. Email to the nurture list. Retargeting audiences served a link. The sales team is using it in conversation. The publishing is the start of the distribution and not the end. Third, chasing volume metrics. The business measures content success by post count, views, or follower growth. None of those metrics correlates with the kind of authority that produces pipeline. Volume-based metrics encourage the wrong behavior, producing more shallow content instead of fewer, deeper pieces. The fix? Measure what matters. Inbound leads attributed to content. Sales conversation that references the content. Time on page on deep pieces. Citations and shares from credible sources. The metrics that show authority are different from the ones that show reach. Here's where it fits in the bigger picture. Authority content is what builds credibility in your marketing. Every other channel, your ads, your email, your sales conversation, your case studies, these believe on the prospect believing you actually know what you're doing. Authority content is the proof that establishes belief. Without it, every channel has to work harder to overcome the prospect skepticism. With it, the rest of your marketing gets compounding leverage. Cold email lands harder because a prospect can verify your expertise. Sales conversations move faster because a prospect already trusts your judgment. Pricing conversations get easier because the authority creates the assumption that you're worth your rate. Authority content takes longer to build than any other channel. It's also the asset class with the longest payoff and the highest defensibility. Competitors can copy your tactics, they can't copy your accumulated body of expertise. If you've been producing volume-based content and are watching it disappear into the noise, the strategic move isn't more content, it's deeper content. Fewer pieces, more substance, better distribution. If you want to see how this connects with the rest of your client acquisition system, watch this next video right here. If this helped, make sure you subscribe. I break down every piece of building an ecosystem that consistently brings in leads.